I'm 29, and my marriage to Finn, 30, began with a wedding that felt like a page torn from a storybook. The soft glow of candles, the scent of roses, and the weight of Finn's hand in mine as we vowed to face the world together. It was perfection. For one fleeting month, our life was a quiet symphony of shared glances and whispered plans, a bubble of joy I thought unbreakable. Then, like a sudden squall tearing through a calm sea, Finn's younger sister, Deborah, 28, stormed into our happiness, her toxic manipulations threatening to unravel everything we'd built. Finn and I have been together for over 8 years, a tapestry of love woven through countless moments of trust and resilience. I've always cherished my bond with Finn's parents, who embraced me as a daughter from the moment we met, their warmth a stark contrast to the cold edge of Deborah's presence. She's been a jagged splinter in my side since I first stepped into their family, a woman whose negativity, deceit, and insatiable appetite for drama cast a shadow over every interaction. Divorced and living on the opposite coast, Deborah's visits are mercifully rare, limited to 1 or 2 tense encounters a year. Each time, I've walked a tightrope, carefully managing my words and actions to avoid sparking her volatile temper. Deborah's personality is a relentless tempest, a whirlwind of complaints and self-pity that engulfs everyone in her path. She vilifies anyone who crosses her parents, friends, co-workers, painting them as cruel betrayers while absolving herself of any fault. Her life is a litany of grievances, a boss who sabotaged her, a friend who turned on her, a job she had to quit because of others' failings. She's mastered the art of victimhood, weaving tales of woe that tug at heartstrings, pulling others into her orbit to pity her as the eternal martyr. I've watched her burn through relationships and jobs, each collapse blamed on someone else, her refusal to self-reflect a wall as unyielding as stone. 6 months ago, a revelation shook the family. Deborah's marriage had disintegrated under the weight of a secret gambling addiction. The news hit like a thunderclap. She'd hidden it with chilling precision, siphoning thousands from her ex-husband's accounts to feed her habit, her deception so seamless, no one suspected a thing. When he discovered the missing money, thousands vanishing into the void, he confronted her, his voice trembling with a mix of hurt and desperation, begging her to seek help. She refused, her defiance a blade that severed their bond. With no other choice, he filed for divorce, leaving her to spiral further into her addiction's grip. It didn't just end her marriage, it corroded her very being, sharpening her bitterness into something almost unrecognizable. Yet, despite this, I clung to neutrality, offering polite support during our rare meetings, my words measured to avoid her wrath. I knew her capacity for chaos, and I had no desire to become her next target. The shift came when Finn and I announced our engagement at a Christmas gathering last year, the room filled with the clink of glasses and the warmth of holiday lights. Deborah's reaction was a warning flare, a storm cloud breaking over the celebration. She stormed out, her footsteps echoing on the hardwood, her face a mask of rage. Later, she claimed our joy had unearthed painful memories of her own failed relationships, her voice thick with crocodile tears. I saw the flicker of hurt in her eyes, but it was laced with something darker: envy, resentment, a hunger to dim our light. Reluctantly, she agreed to be a bridesmaid, her acceptance laced with a performative enthusiasm that barely masked the tension simmering beneath. At first, she played the part, offering tight smiles at planning sessions, her presence a low hum of discord. But soon, her facade cracked. She began ignoring me at meetings, only to unleash a barrage of criticism about every wedding detail. The venue was tacky, the dresses uninspired, the menu forgettable. Her words were a constant drip of venom, eroding the joy of what should have been a sacred time. Finn and his mother, both weary of her antics, confronted her multiple times, their voices firm but pleading. "Deborah, enough," Finn said once, his brow furrowed. "This is our day." But their words slid off her like water off glass. I, ever allergic to conflict, pulled her aside one chilly evening, the air sharp with the promise of snow. "Deborah," I said softly, searching her face, "have I done something to upset you?" She waved me off, her smile a thin, brittle thing. "Everything's fine," she said, but her eyes were cold, a storm brewing behind them. The tension reached a fever pitch during a pre-wedding family vacation Finn's parents organized, a misguided attempt to foster unity before the big day. I dreaded the trip, my stomach knotting at the thought of days trapped with Deborah's volatility. My fears were not misplaced. She was a maelstrom, snapping at everyone over the smallest slights. A misplaced towel, a chair out of alignment. She demanded we rearrange the furniture in our rented beach house because it disrupted her vibe, her voice shrill as she barked orders. Her parents and Finn, conditioned by years of her outbursts, sometimes complied, their faces tight with resignation. It was a dynamic that left me feeling like an outsider in a house ruled by her whims, my patience fraying with each passing day. After enduring her tantrums, her voice piercing the quiet of sunlit mornings, I withdrew, keeping my distance to preserve what little calm I could cling to. When she offered unsolicited advice about my career, ignorant of my expertise in the years I'd spent building my reputation, I politely declined. "I'm a professional, Deborah. I said, my tone even. I earn well and I don't need your input. She pounced, her eyes flashing with accusation, claiming I was hostile, spinning a narrative to the family that I'd attacked her unprovoked. I was stunned by her audacity, her willingness to distort a simple boundary into an assault. I stood my ground, reiterating my stance, but inside, I was a furnace of anger, my hands trembling as I fought to stay composed. For the rest of the trip, she shadowed me, her presence a constant pressure, demanding I explain my attitude. At night, when I escaped to the sanctuary of my room, she'd corner Finn and his mother, spinning tales of my supposed condescension, claiming I treated her like she was stupid. Finn tried to defend me, his voice steady but strained. "She's not like that, Deborah," he'd say. But she'd cut him off, accusing him of becoming a stranger since our engagement, her words a knife twisting in the family's trust. Back home, I threw myself into wedding preparations, desperate to reclaim the joy Deborah had tainted. Unbeknownst to me, she was waging a covert war, spreading vicious rumors among Finn's relatives. She claimed I neglected him, that he was miserable in our relationship, a cruel inversion of the love that defined us. The lies reached us when a cousin called, his voice hesitant, asking if Finn was truly unhappy. Finn debunked the rumors with quiet certainty, assuring him of our happiness, but the betrayal cut deep. Deborah was actively trying to poison our reputation, to cast me as a villain in the eyes of those I'd come to see as family. Finn and I sat down one evening, the weight of her actions heavy between us. "She's gone too far," he said, his voice thick with disappointment. I nodded, my throat tight. "I can't keep doing this, Finn. Her toxicity, it's unbearable, especially now." With our wedding looming, I refused to let her darkness overshadow our light. Determined to confront the issue, I invited Finn's parents and Deborah to lunch at a quiet cafe, the clink of cutlery a soft backdrop to the tension. Finn was away on a work trip, leaving me to face her alone. Over steaming cups of coffee and half-eaten sandwiches, I spoke with a resolve I hadn't known I possessed. "Deborah," I said, my voice steady, "if you keep spreading lies about me, you won't be invited to the wedding." Her reaction was volcanic, her face contorting with rage. "You have no right to talk to me like that," she screamed, her voice drawing stares from nearby tables. "You're just a poor girl who lucked into my rich brother. Show some respect." I sat, unflinching, as she branded me a gold digger, claiming I was after Finn's money. Finn's mother, her voice sharp as a blade, intervened. "Deborah, stop it," she snapped, her eyes blazing. Finn's father, his face red with anger, apologized, his voice low and sincere. "We're so sorry," he said, his gaze meeting mine. Deborah doubled down, accusing me of coveting their family inheritance, her words a wild swing at my character. I cut her off, my voice firm but calm. "I'm financially independent, Deborah. I come from a comfortable family. Your condescension comes from assuming our immigrant roots mean we're poor. They don't." Her eyes widened, her words faltering as she struggled to respond, her face a mask of shock. I delivered an ultimatum. "Change, or you're out of the wedding." She glared, her silence a seething storm, as the table fell quiet. I left the lunch shaken, my hands trembling as I gripped the steering wheel, the weight of the confrontation pressing against my chest. When Finn returned, I poured out the story, my voice breaking as I recounted her accusations. His face darkened, fury flashing in his eyes. "She had no right," he said, his voice low but fierce. "No right at all." He called his parents, and they agreed Deborah was spiraling out of control, her actions a threat to the family's harmony. They quietly contacted her friends, seeking answers, and uncovered a chilling truth. Her gambling addiction was worse than ever, fueled by access to their bank account. The revelation was a gut punch. They feared she'd drain their savings, leaving nothing for their future. Finn confronted her, his voice steady but pleading. "Deborah, you need help," he said, his eyes searching hers. "This isn't you." She denied everything, her stubbornness a fortress no one could breach. When her parents revoked her account access, she exploded, storming their home and screaming about betrayal. "It's my money, too," she shrieked, her voice echoing through their quiet suburban house. She accused them of controlling her life, her tantrum a spectacle of raw, unhinged rage. Finn, shaken, shared this with me, his eyes heavy with worry. "I don't know how to help her," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. He and his parents explored options, therapists, support groups, but knew she'd reject them all, her pride a barrier too high to scale. Weeks later, Finn's parents invited us to a somber dinner, the air thick with unspoken dread. Over a meal that tasted of ash, they revealed their deepening fear. Deborah's addiction could devastate their estate, leaving nothing for their children or their legacy. Finn, torn, argued it might be unfair to disinherit her. "She's still my sister," he said, his voice cracking. "I love her despite everything." I echoed him, my heart heavy. "She's your daughter," I said to his parents. "She deserves her share." His mother's voice broke as she shared a gut-wrenching discovery. Deborah had stolen heirloom jewelry, priceless treasures passed down from her grandmother. caught on camera as she rifled through their safe. The room fell silent, the weight of her betrayal a physical force. They'd confronted her, but she denied it, her defiance unshaken by the evidence. With heavy hearts, they decided to remove her from the will, a choice born of necessity to safeguard their assets. Finn, devastated, nodded, his shoulders slumping. "I get it," he said, his voice hollow. We supported them, recognizing Deborah as a financial threat to the family's future, her actions a betrayal too deep to ignore. As lawyers crafted a bulletproof will, I buried myself in wedding preparations, determined to reclaim the joy Deborah had tainted. She, undeterred, kept meddling, her criticisms a constant drone at dress fittings and the bachelorette party. "This is all so basic," she'd sneer, her voice cutting through the laughter of my friends. I asked again, my voice soft, if I'd wronged her. She brushed me off, her smile cold as winter. Despite her venom, our wedding was a triumph, a cascade of flowers, the glow of candlelight, our vows a promise to weather any storm. Yet Deborah's presence, sulking in a corner with a scowl, was a dark note in an otherwise perfect symphony. The love of our guests, their laughter, their tears, drowned her out, etching the day in my heart as a beacon of hope, a testament to the strength of our bond. After a honeymoon bathed in sunlight and laughter, we settled into the rhythm of married life, our days filled with work and quiet evenings. Then yesterday, Deborah invited herself to dinner, her voice syrupy as she claimed she missed Finn. I agreed, reluctant but unwilling to seem unkind, my stomach nodding at the thought of her presence. Over pasta, the clink of forks, a soft backdrop, she launched into a tirade about cheaters, calling them worthless pieces of crap. Her eyes locked on me, sharp and accusing. "What's it like to be one?" she asked, her voice dripping with malice. Before I could process, she accused me of cheating with my coworker Matt, waving photos she'd taken, innocent coffee runs and work lunches twisted into proof of an affair. My blood boiled, my hands trembling as I fought to stay calm. Her lies were a calculated strike, aimed at the heart of my marriage. Finn, visibly shaken, demanded answers. "Why were you stalking her?" he asked, his voice tight. Deborah claimed she was investigating to save him from my supposed gold digging, her words a twisted parody of concern. Finn called her accusations baseless, his voice rising. "Stop this, Deborah, now!" But she pressed on, producing a screenshot of a Facebook chat with a colleague, hinting Matt and I were too close. Finn's trust wavered, his eyes searching mine. "Is there anything to this?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The question cut like a knife. After 8 years, he doubted me. I protested, my voice trembling with hurt. "Finn, you know me. There's nothing." Deborah mocked my silence, claiming it proved her right. "Caught in your lies?" she sneered. Furious, I ordered her out, my voice shaking. "Get out of our house." Finn, torn, said, "You can't talk to my sister like that." Wounded, I turned to him, my heart fracturing. "If you don't believe me, leave with her." Deborah kept attacking, accusing me of stealing Finn for luxury, claiming I never loved him. My patience shattered. "You're obsessed with your brother," I snapped, my voice cutting through her tirade. Then, in a moment of reckless fury, I dropped the bombshell. "Finn and your parents are rewriting the will to cut you out. It's happening right under your nose." Her face contorted from rage to shock, her voice faltering as the truth landed. Finn signaled me to stop, his eyes wide, but I pressed on. "You sided with her, Finn. Don't ask me to stop now." I ordered them both out, my voice steady despite the storm inside. "Finn, don't come back until you apologize for believing her." They left, Deborah's stunned silence a stark contrast to her earlier venom. Finn's parents have called, their voicemails piling up, but I've ignored them, emotionally spent, my heart heavy with the question. Did I go too far revealing the will after Deborah's assault? Update 1. Your comments were a lifeline, pulling me from the edge of despair. I filed an HR complaint against the colleague who fed Deborah's rumors about Matt, avoiding direct confrontation to preserve my dwindling energy. Some suggested Deborah faked the screenshot, but I doubt she's that cunning. Her chaos is more impulsive than calculated. I trust HR's investigation will uncover the truth, peeling back the layers of her lies. Update 2. A week since Deborah's attack, and I'm a wreck, sleeping 2 to 3 hours nightly, my mind a tangle of hurt and exhaustion. I crave the quiet of a life unmarred by her venom. HR confronted the colleague who confessed to inventing the story about Matt and me, thinking it harmless gossip. She was suspended for a month, a stark warning about the toll of slander. My reputation is restored. Deborah's lies laid bare for all to see. Finn reached out repeatedly, his messages a mix of regret and longing. Yesterday, I agreed to meet him and his parents, my voice firm as I insisted Deborah stay away. At their dining table, Finn's apology was heartfelt, his eyes brimming with guilt. "I let my emotions blind me," he said, his voice breaking. "I know now how absurd her accusations were." His parents expressed deep regret, their faces etched with sorrow for the ordeal's impact. Finn owned his lapse in trust, vowing to set ironclad boundaries with Deborah. "She won't come between us again," he promised, his hand finding mine. "We're exploring couples therapy to mend the cracks in our bond, to rebuild what her lies threatened to shatter." His parents pledged their support, their voices steady. "We're with you," his mother said, her eyes meeting mine. Finn understood my outburst about the will, a desperate counterstrike against Deborah's cruelty. loyalty. You were pushed too far, he said, his voice soft. They weren't upset as they'd planned to tell her soon. I declared I'm cutting ties with Deborah, my voice unwavering. My mental health, our marriage, they come first. She's crossed a line I can't forgive. Finn supported me, his hand squeezing mine. His parents, though saddened, agreed I had the right. You've been through enough, his father said, his voice heavy. The weight lifted. I felt lighter. A flicker of hope rekindling. Finn returns today from a trip, and I'm eager to hold him close to rebuild what we nearly lost. Update 3. 5 months on. Deborah messaged me, her words a masterclass in deflection. She sidestepped the destruction she wrought, framing her accusations as protecting Finn, claiming I'd forbidden his contact with her and shattered their family. Her remorselessness, her ease at playing the victim, was chilling. It cemented my choice to keep her at bay, a wall between her chaos and our peace. Finn and I leaned into therapy, our sessions raw and honest, peeling back layers of hurt to rebuild trust. Our love is deepening, a fortress against her storms. We maintain distance from Deborah, despite her parents' gentle pleas for reconciliation. She's still our daughter, his mother said once, her voice soft with pain. But we stand firm, guarding our hard-won calm. Work, family, and quiet evenings, cooking together, laughing over old movies, anchor us now. We've grown unbreakable, her chaos a fading echo. Choosing our marriage over her toxicity brought a peace I never thought possible, a stability that feels like home.